Welcome to 2026 and the Speech Diaries. I hope your holidays were fantastic. Mine were pretty good. Can't complain at all. The name of my YouTube channel is called The Speech Diaries. And although there are some elements and a few speeches within the collective of the videos that I have, it's really a variety of life experiences that I'm sharing with all of you. And it's not really focused on speeches per se. So I thought it would be interesting to give you a little bit of background as to why I called it the Speech Diaries and what my main objective was when I started this channel, because it's far from where it is now. But I think that the end result is going to get to where I want it to be. Anyway, that's the goal. Whether it gets there or not, who knows? But the main emphasis right now is to share my journey of this channel actually becoming the Speech Diaries. I have always loved to create stories. It wasn't until I went to college that I learned that I had an ability to write a script and then share it with other people. It was a class called Effective Speech. It was my favorite well, actually I had two favorite classes in college. The one was leisure education and the other was effective speech. And it wasn't until I actually gave one of my speeches, I think it was my first speech in that class, that I realized that this is where I wanted to be. This is what I wanted to do with my life. And I never really steered myself in that direction. I had a lot of insecurities at the time, a lot of self-doubt. I didn't believe in myself. But I knew deep down inside that I did have a creative ability and that I was good at articulating emotion, and sharing sensitivities with other people. And I was a pretty good listener too. So what happened was when I went to Mohawk College, one of the teachers there that taught effective speech, his name was Ron Slavic. And he would give us different topics to write speeches about, and then we would have to present them in front of our classes. Well, this one time it was about idiosyncrasies, those things that people do that bug you, like leaving the toilet seat up or chewing gum like that. Well, that kind of stuff. And I couldn't honestly think of anything that bugged me that much to write about. And then this one day I was sitting watching television, and it was a news weekly from the United States. And I heard some guy say, well, I don't hate them. Take rattlesnakes, for instance. I don't hate a rattlesnake, but if one comes up to me and bites me, I'm going to shoot it. And what he was doing is he was actually comparing rattlesnakes to people. He was from a group called the Aryan Nation. And at that time, I was quite ignorant to who they were and what they represented. Of course, I know now, but I was shocked. I couldn't believe how a human being could compare another human being to a rattlesnake. So that's what I wrote about, because that really bugged me. And I remember when I was called to give the speech, I stood up in front of the class. I was nervous as heck. I mean, I was shaking. My adrenaline was, on overload, and I was standing there. And then I took a deep breath and I looked at my audience, which was my class. And I just started to speak. And I used some references in the speech, a couple from the Bible. And as I was speaking, I could feel because it was a very emotional speech, a tear coming down my face. But I was in control. The room was silent. You could hear a pin drop. And it's because people were listening to what I had to say, to the message that I was conveying. When I went to turn to my instructor, Mr. Slavic, to get my mark, I got 100%. Sorry if I'm getting a little emotional, but I never believed that I was good enough to do something that would get me 100%. I didn't think I was smart enough. And not only that, but after that speech, I had felt like I had run a marathon. I felt totally exhausted. I felt shaky, but it was a good kind. It was weird because it was all the things that you would feel if you were having an anxiety attack, but it felt good. I don't know how to explain it. It felt really good. I felt like, okay, this is where I belong. And I spent so many years trying to get back that feeling, but I never pursued a career in public speaking. The closest I got was working in radio. I did have a job at a local radio station. I did the traffic report. I did some fluff reporting. I did interview a few personalities in my year in radio. Wasn't very long, but I did have some fun experiences. And even though it was radio, I just didn't have the confidence to go on. And so I ended up getting a job for the city of Hamilton, and I worked within various departments for over 29 years in the city. But I always missed being able to share my stories or my feelings or my views with other people and tapping into their emotion, connecting with their sensitivities. I missed that. And so as I got older, and I was, ready to retire almost, I joined a group called Toastmasters. A few years into it, I decided to compete in the Toastmaster International Speech Contest. And I ended up winning first place in my club, and then in the area, and then in the district and the division. I also had the privilege of hearing other Toastmasters speak. And some of the speeches that I heard were incredible. They really had an important message that needed to be shared with other people, or in my opinion, needed to be shared. There was one gentleman, admittedly, did some wrong things, ended up going to jail. When he was in jail, his wife or girlfriend, I'm not sure, had a baby. And then he saw his child, and the moment he saw his son, he realized that he didn't want his child to end up where he ended up. So he shifted his focus to become a better human being, to become a better person, and to become a better role model for his child. And that was what his speech was about. And I loved it. It was great. And it was something that I would want to tap into again and again and maybe share with others. But I knew that there was no place for that speech to go. And there were a lot of different speeches that were interesting, that were informative. Some were funny, some were poignant, some were real head scratchers, eye openers. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if there was a place where speeches could live? If somebody wanted to tap into those, they could. And then I thought, well, there would really be a lot of administration involved with copyright, with this and with that. So it was kind of too much technically for me to handle, but I really wanted to work something out, how to delve into that. So then I thought, well, what about my speeches? I mean, I'm a good speech writer. I have given a lot of really good speeches, and perhaps maybe this is where my speeches could live. I've also had to deal with loss, with the death of my son and grief. And I have managed to transform that into stories and examples that can help people move through their grief. Grief doesn't have to be a dark and lonely place. It can also be a beautiful, sunny, bright, and open you up to a whole new myriad of experiences with your loved ones. So that's where the name The Speech Diaries was born, from my love of public speaking and wanting to build some sort of home where speeches could live. But here we are.